Hi, I'm Mel Anderson. Hope you're enjoying the Fruit Park YouTube channel.
So, again, good morning ladies and gentlemen. Peter Racy here from Fruit Park YouTube channel, and I think I've been remiss in not mentioning that in the other couple of introductions we've done. Before we actually get, Geoff, into your career in detail, we've been talking about Mel Anderson, and some of the best interviews that Hugh Lunn and I have done, mostly Hugh Lunn, was with Mel. And at the moment Mel is leading the stakes in views, which I'm sure he'd be very happy with. While he's a country lad, I did notice a bit of a competitive streak in him. So just fill us in of your background, because your experience with Mel goes from being coached, but then also playing with him at Davis Cup. And it's just such a long period and great Queensland tennis history.
Yeah, well, Mel, of course, is from Theodore, I think, country Queensland, and grew up to be one of the best stroke makers the game has seen. And I remember when I was touring, and I'll get back to the early days, but when I was touring the great Pancho Gonzalez, that many that know tennis would recognise his name, he spoke to me one day when I saw him, and he said, "What's Mal doing these days?" And I said, "Well, he's got a squash centre in the Grange." He said, "One of the greatest hitters the ball ever saw." And that's all he said, and walked off, and he was a quiet man. But when I was about 15, been coached by Trevor and Daphne Fancoat, and Trevor and Daphne knew Mal well. They knew he had a tennis centre at the Grange and was a really nice man, and he was offering to play some games with people like myself, have hits with them. And I took up that opportunity, and many a day went over to Mal's tennis centre at the Grange in Brisbane and played sets. Mal had retired from the tour at those days. He was a man in his mid to late 30s. He'd had a wonderfully successful career, and he was able to impart a lot of his knowledge and match play experience onto me as a 15, 16-year-old. And then, of course, interestingly enough, many years later, when Davis Cup was a little thin on the ground and we needed some great players, Mal came back, and he was a man in his late 30s, 38, 39, played Davis Cup for Australia, and I was fortunate enough then to be a young man in my early 20s to be in the same team as he was. So our time together started when I was about 15, and he was generous with his time, and it continued when I was in my early 20s, and we were parts of Davis Cup teams together. So wonderful times with Mal, whose nickname is Country, and in a very loving manner, because he's got a very laid-back, laconic style about him, and really a gentleman. And
also, I think, a deeply competitive spirit.
Well, you don't get to win a US Open singles without being competitive, and of course he is a US Open singles champion.
Yeah, and the motivation, if people are interested, if you have a look at the YouTube interview, was it was either a marriage or tennis practice, and so he opted to win and get married, which is a fair enough incentive and reward. Now, just again on some of the themes that we're talking about in the YouTubes, is trams. Now, did you catch a tram to Mel Anderson by any chance?
Yeah, I did. His centre at the Grange was on the Grange tram line, and I did go there. I grew up in Wavell Heights in Brisbane on the north side. The Grange is on the north side, so it wasn't that far away.
That'd be a two-tram effort, really. You had to come down and then get off and go back on a different.
Yeah, but that's what you did in those days. It wasn't that challenging, and you just were very grateful for the opportunity to get on court with a Grand Slam singles champion. And as I said, he was very generous with his time, and was very much a part, along with many others here in Queensland and other parts of Australia, but certainly in Queensland, was very much instrumental in part of my development.
Yeah, so, and one can understand why it's so much harder these days for young kids, because the mentoring, which was thick on the ground,
yes,
in that 60s and 70s,
yes,
especially in the 70s when you were coming through, is now very a much more rarefied product, I think would be the words I'm after there. Even though we've got the fantastic facility out there at Tennyson, and yes, hopefully we'll have an equally great facility at Fruit Park. It just that mentoring is just so important, isn't it?
Well, it is. I think no matter what walk of life that you're in, if you've got a mentor, someone who takes an interest, who's got the expertise, and that you can really relate to, it just sets you on your way. So, yeah, I was fortunate, probably in a sense that I was quite a good player when I was young, that I was able to spend a lot of time with older, more mature players or adults who helped me not only on the court but off the court, and they go hand in hand. Obviously, your temperament is important. On the tennis court, you've got to grow up quickly, and the fact that I was able to spend a lot of time with older, more mature players who'd been there and done that was very helpful. And again, referencing Mel Anderson and Daphne and Trevor Fancoat in particular, of course Alan Jones, I was pretty lucky.
Yep. So we will wrap this one up here, and we'll now, in the next interview, talk about your career in much greater depth.
Now you're probably wanting to know what this chair here, it is one of the linesman's chair that used to be used at Fruit Park, Milton during the championships, state and international and Davis Cup matches. Very comfortable chair, and I didn't happen to knock anyone off the chair anyway during the tournaments, but that's the one.